Okay, so I saw Knives Out last night. It's great. They gave us like these nifty free posters, which are awesome. But now I've officially seen every single movie Chris Evans has ever been in, which says a lot about the amount of free time I have and also the amount of things I've procrastinated over the year and a half. But anyways, I thought it would be fun to go through and do a ranking of all of them. This is like less of a formal movie ranking and more of a Eugene from Try Guys type of ranking where it's organic and we sort of like move and groove them into their places as we talk about them. I created this little thing in Microsoft Word. I have not used the horizontal aspect of Microsoft Word since probably elementary school when you're making those brochures. But I've got best at the top and I put at the bottom. Basically, I'm recording this screen, so I'll probably have that up over the video so you can see me move them into their positions. But yeah, let's see where the movies fall in the ranking and let's just get started. Two disclaimers before I get started. One, if you're looking for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, I have not watched it. It's the one movie I haven't seen. It's not in this list at all. Sorry, you can click out now. And two, this is obviously my ranking. If you guys disagree or you hate it, I'm not you. I'm a different person than you with different interests, so go make your own ranking, you know? So Knives Out is probably the hardest for me to rank right now just because I saw it yesterday and it is the most fresh in my mind. I'm gonna talk more about some of the other movies, I think, but this one is so new and so important that you go in without any spoilers. So I'm just gonna say I really enjoyed this movie and it's probably more near the best side of the scale than the side of the scale for sure. Okay, so what's your number? I did enjoy this movie. I really do like What's Your Number. That basketball scene, love it. Love how into art all the characters are and how much the story emphasizes, you know, doing what you love and not really listening to the people around you who think it's dumb. I love that. But is it the best movie? So I'm gonna put that like solidly in the middle and we'll see what happens as we continue on. Infinity War. I liked Chris Evans' acting in Infinity War a lot. And I liked Steve's characterization in Infinity War a lot. See, it's hard with the Marvel movies, I think, because we've grown to love these characters over the course of 10 years, and it's kind of difficult for another ensemble movie to compare. But I think, for the moment, I think I'm gonna put Infinity War in front of Knives Out. Before we go, personally, I loved Before We Go. It's definitely better than What's Your Number for sure, just because I feel like it's so intimate and you really get a sense of these characters. But do I think it's better than Knives Out and Infinity War? I just feel like Knives Out was very I don't want to say that Before We Go wasn't creative, but I feel like one night in New York City, two people, what can they get into? Is slightly, oh god, I don't want to insult it. I love Before We Go. It's one of the movies that inspired me to be a screenwriter. But I don't think it's as like creatively new as Knives Out is, which I feel like was a very, very unique take on a murder mystery. So for right now, I'm gonna put it like maybe over here. Like, it's good. Definitely better than What's Your Number, but I don't know if it's as good as Knives Out and Infinity War right now. Okay, Nanny Diaries! I feel like the plot is so crazy. I will say though, for a very long time I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter what I'm gonna do in my life. I can just go to New York City and be a nanny. Like, that was a backup plan for a good few months after graduating. But is it a better movie overall than What's Your Number? Is Harvard Hottie better than guitar playing Playboy Next Door? I feel like I'm gonna rank Nanny Diaries higher than What's Your Number, but lower than Before We Go, because I feel like there's just more heart to it, and I feel like Annie's journey relates more to me and like my interests, but I mean, I like both of them. So the next one is Playing It Cool. I liked Playing It Cool, like, a lot. I felt like I really enjoyed the screenwriter aspect of Chris's character. Also, Anthony Mackie is in this one too. And I liked their relationship. I really liked his chase near the end of the movie. I think it was very beautiful. I think I'm gonna put it before we go, but after Nanny Diaries somewhere. But you know what, not on that top row, like maybe over here. Yeah. The Loss of a Teardrop Diamond. The southern accents were a bit painful. I mean, they tried really hard, they did, but it was just, oh god, I could barely get through this movie, and the plot was just, it was just so slow. I'm just gonna say it wasn't my genre and move on. This might be my first, I don't know if it's gonna end up being my lowest movie, but it's definitely not my favorite movie. Okay, The Losers. I liked The Losers, actually. I feel like Chris plays probably the first action hero I've ever seen who actually wears glasses and keeps them on consistently throughout the movie. The story might hold up to general audiences slightly better than Nanny Diaries would. But I think personally I enjoy playing it cool over The Losers. So I'm gonna put it there-ish for now. The Iceman. Okay, Chris is barely in this movie, first of all. Second of all, he's got a Charles Xavier in Days of Future Past vibe going on in this movie with the hair and the shirts. Also, Ross from Friends is randomly in this movie. Question mark. It wasn't a bad movie, but I just didn't feel connected with it as I did with literally any of the other movies on this board. But I am gonna put it above Loss of a Teardrop Diamond just because the acting was way better, and yeah. Okay, so Puncture is another true story movie. Chris's acting is amazing. I definitely started crying in this movie. I think I'm gonna put it after The Losers and before Playing It Cool, just because I feel like his acting was very, very tangibly real, and you definitely felt for him. And I feel like the subject matter is slightly more grounded than The Losers or Nanny Diaries. It just feels more substantial. But I think personally, I didn't find it as enjoyable as Playing It Cool. So I think that's where I'm gonna put it for now. Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier seriously got me through college. Literally every time I was stressed, I would watch this movie. I'm pretty sure I can quote it in my sleep. Not even a question asked. I love Chris's acting. I love Scarlett's acting. I love Anthony Mackie's acting. This is the first superhero movie I saw where I felt like the female character was given just as much weight as the male character. Even though, I mean, obviously it's Steve's film, I do feel like Natasha had a big impact on the plot. It felt new and it felt important, and I just like that it was more of a smaller cast and more of a fight the government and reveal the secrets hidden within than necessarily the entire cast coming together to fight a group of aliens and one big bad guy. So I think for right now, I'm gonna put Winter Soldier above Infinity War. I think. But that might change. But for right now, I genuinely am gonna put that in the top spot. The Newcomers. I think this may have been his very first movie ever. He's not the main character. He's not part of the main family. He's this side character / love interest. The plot is basically just family moves to new place. Kids are upset they move. Can't make friends. But you know what? Chris's character was cute, and he did what he could for that family. And I think I'm gonna put it above Loss of a Teardrop Diamond. They're both just but I think Little Boy Trying to Find Friends, I think that tops Rich Heiress Loses Her Earrings. I think that's what's gonna happen. Okay, Sunshine. For me personally, I just don't like space movies or underwater movies that much. Like, I can take a horror movie, but I feel like for some reason, the like outer space or the underwater survival genres just mess me up because I'm like, that stuff could happen. Like, it really could. I feel like ghosts, you know, in horror movies, you watch it and you're like, okay, if there's a ghost in real life, like, they've got better stuff to do than mess with my shit. But like, in outer space, like, this stuff could happen. Like, underwater, like, that, I feel like there could definitely be a giant octopus that just like, what, and then your submarine is gone. Like, So I feel like I was definitely expecting something sketch to happen in Sunshine. But honestly, I was just so annoyed at all of the characters. Like, I know it's a movie and you need drama to happen, but like, the main guy forgot to put the shields. Like, how do you forget the shields? That just seems like something you remember. Like, if you're changing your entire trajectory, why wouldn't you remember the shields? And then he's like, you know, I'm allowed to make mistakes. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but also, did the government like vet you? This isn't a middle school math test. Like, you don't just forget to bring a 1 over. Like, you genuinely, this is huge. Also, it just annoyed me that they decided to listen to the distress call, which, shout out to Chris Evans' character for being the only person who was like, oh no, that's dumb, we shouldn't do that. Like, the one person with common sense. Although later on in that same film, he's the one that suggests that they all split up, and you're like, are you sure? What this film does best is wrestle with questions like, how much is one human life worth? And like, I think it did that really well. But then in terms of like the other plot stuff, like characters just doing dumb things just so the plot has a reason to do something else, like, I felt like that was kind of contrived. And also, I just didn't really need the scene of someone's skin getting ripped off. I didn't need to see that, like, ever in my entire life, but that's fine. I think I'm gonna put it above Iceman, but below What's Your Number. The thing is, I liked the characters better in What's Your Number. I liked the plot better. I felt like the characters in What's Your Number reacted more humanly and more naturally and made mistakes that made more sense than like ship captain literally forgets to put his shield. I am putting it above Iceman though, because I feel like you're on the edge of your seat when you watch it, whereas opposed to the Iceman, where you're kind of like, okay, well, he's murdering a lot of people, but he loves his family, so I don't know. So I feel like that's why I'm putting it there. So Street Kings. I feel like I did enjoy this movie. The main character is like Keanu Reeves, but it's like Keanu Reeves with like a Fox Mulder vibe going on between like looks and his against the organization he works for thing. Chris's acting is really good. I think plot and action-wise, I enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed Sunshine. That might just be because of the genre, but I genuinely just didn't care as much about these characters as I did in like What's Your Number and above. So I think I'm gonna put it above Sunshine, but below What's Your Number. That's so funny. It's got the same poster vibe as like the rom-coms, but it's like, it's not at all. Okay, so The Perfect Score. Cute. I feel like The Perfect Score is actually a decent movie, and pretty topical even now. I mean, SAT is still screwing people over. It's like corny parts of it, and the kids are like slightly annoying. But you know what? I think overall, I actually did enjoy this more than the Iceman. I feel like I'm gonna move it above Iceman, but below Sunshine. Yeah. Seriously, I frickin' could not eat gummies for like a year after I watched this movie. Like, I was messed up. I saw this movie in theaters with like a group of friends, and after we left, they were like, wow, Chris Evans was so good. And I was like, oh wait, which one was Chris Evans? And they were like, are you dumb? Did you watch the movie? He was the main character. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. wait, he doesn't look anything like Chris Evans. So like, honestly, 11 out of 10 for Chris's acting here, because I genuinely, when I first watched it, did not even realize. I think that just is a testament to how well Chris Evans can like blend into the characters that he's portraying and like really become them and like become a different person, because I genuinely did not even realize. I think Snowpiercer, just plot-wise, acting-wise, character-wise, dialogue-wise, would rank higher than Before We Go. So I think I'm gonna put it above Before We Go, but I'm gonna put it below Knives Out. Just because I feel like Knives Out personally is more enjoyable to me. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I genuinely just don't see the hype. I mean, he just goes around fighting people so he can get with a girl. Maybe I'm missing something, but for right now, I'm gonna put it in the pile. Maybe, you know, in a few years, I will give this movie a second chance and it'll like move its way up. But for now, it's next to the newcomers. You know what? I like Captain America: The First Avenger. I tend to enjoy historical fiction set in like World War II. I don't know why, I just do. And I really, really, really love Peggy Carter. I feel like you get such a good sense of who Steve is. It's really the base of who he becomes. And I feel like for that reason, I'm gonna put it above Snowpiercer. But I'm putting it below Knives Out, because I think plot-wise, not as exciting as like Knives Out moving forward, but I really do love The First Avenger just for what it does for Steve, how it sets him up, and like for Peggy Carter. You know, like I really love that movie. I feel like I should have just put the two Fantastic Four movies together, but it's too late for that, so here we are. Well, let's rank Rise of the Silver Surfer. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not like a bad movie, personally. I liked the like power switching. I think I'm gonna put it below Sunshine, but above Perfect Score, just because I feel like the acting in Sunshine was probably a little bit better, but I did still enjoy it. Okay, the Red Sea Diving Resort. What did I like? I liked their acting, and I liked the cinematography, but did I necessarily like the characterization of all the characters? I don't know. I think I'm gonna put this above Nanny Diaries, but below The Losers, because the acting is quite good, but I feel like plot-wise, I just found The Losers more enjoyable. So Push is another one that I was super excited to watch in high school, and then I never actually went and bought it on iTunes. Like, I just never saw the movie. So I was very excited to watch it, but I feel like the plot just like wasn't as strong as some of the other films. I think I'm gonna put it above Fantastic Four, but below Sunshine. Not Another Teen movie is actually like decently enjoyable. Like, you have a good time when you watch the movie. Chris Evans' character is like endearing, you know? Is it my favorite plot? Not really. Does the sister kind of freak me out? Yes. But I think it is better than Scott Pilgrim. So I think I'm gonna put Not Another Teen Movie in between The Iceman and Scott Pilgrim. We're just gonna slide that right on in there. I feel like London is a very odd movie. I feel like if you like the type of dialogue that like Shakespeare would write, this kind of feels like that. I felt like the plot was just so slow. Like, he's in the bathroom for like a good half of the movie, just like agonizing over what life and what love is. It's like a really strong showing of emotion. Chris's acting is insane. Like, he's so good in this movie, but I just feel plot-wise it drags on. I think I'm gonna put it above Not Another Teen Movie just because of Chris's acting, but I think I'm gonna put it below The Iceman just because the plot was so slow. I feel like Gifted is one of those special movies that is just insanely good in every single realm and like actually has a special spark to it. I feel like everyone was bringing their A game, and McKenna Grace is so good. Their relationship just feels so organic and authentic, and I love all the characters. I love the storyline. I love the dialogue. Like, I genuinely, I love Gifted. And I think it just took the top spot. Fantastic Four, but like the original one. I feel like, honestly, is not as bad of a movie as the entire internet seems to say that it is. I feel like I'm gonna put it above The Iceman, but below Perfect Score, because it's more exciting to me than The Iceman, and I feel like plot-wise, Perfect Score just, you know, it's good. So that's where we're plopping that right there. Okay, I feel like Civil War is another really difficult one. I'm gonna put Civil War below the first Avenger, just because I think I get annoyed when I watch Civil War. Like, everyone's acting is amazing, but I just get so annoyed with the characters watching Civil War. Whereas the first Avenger, I feel like it's just a different mood, and I feel like in the moment right now, I feel like I prefer the vibe that the first Avenger has over the like anxiety-inducing Civil War. Maybe this would be different in a ranking of all of the MCU movies, but in a ranking of like Chris Evans movies, this is what I'm going with. I feel like Fierce People is like a very weird movie. It's randomly got Kristen Stewart, and it's like Kristen Stewart as a baby and like Chris Evans as a baby, and it's like a very odd cast. I feel like Fierce People is really good if you like anthropology and if you like maybe F. Scott Fitzgerald. You know, like, I think if you like those, you might like Fierce People. It's just very heavy-handed in the way that it's done. So I think I'm gonna put Fierce People below The Iceman, but above London, because I feel like, you know, the plot does something. It's not just in a bathroom doing coke, so we're gonna put it there. You know what? I unironically love this movie. I don't know. I really love Cellular. I love the action. I love the dialogue. I love how the main female character basically gets herself out of all of the trouble. Like, she gets herself out of the kidnapping. Like, technically, we're watching Chris Evans' character, like, do all of this stuff and, like, to get her out. But she's over here freeing herself, like, the whole time, which I feel like, you know, you never see a mom who's also a teacher get kidnapped and then free herself. And I feel like she saves herself partly from the knowledge that she has from just teaching her subject. Was it biology? I think she teaches biology or like anatomy or something. And she literally knows the like spots to kill someone on the body, and that's what she uses. Like, I'm here for that. I love that, actually. I will say though, when I watched it, I thought it was a comedy, and then when I googled it after I watched it, they were like, oh yes, this thriller, and I'm like, whoa, it was a thriller? Oh, oops. Which I feel like is probably just because of the time period that I watched it. You know, no one uses flip phones anymore. Like, there's just a lot happening in this movie. I feel like you're thrown into this movie and you are along for the ride until the very end. This is the movie you want to watch if you're having a bad day and actually want to feel better. Like, I did not stop laughing this entire movie. Maybe I'm insane for doing this, but I think I'm gonna put it above Playing It Cool. Like, I just genuinely had a good time watching this movie, which I feel like is all you can really ask for, you know? But that's where I'm gonna put it. So the very first Avengers movie, you know what? The first Avengers movie is like cute as heck. Like, you can't hate on the first Avengers movie because it's the first time everyone comes together. But I think I'm gonna put it above Playing It Cool, but below Cellular. I just genuinely, I enjoyed Cellular as a movie, okay? Like, I had so much fun watching it, and I feel like Avengers, while it does bring everyone together, like, people are still trying to find their footing. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me. So that's where I'm gonna put it there for the moment. And then Age of Ultron is kind of in the same boat as Avengers. I think I do actually enjoy Age of Ultron more than the first Avengers. So I think I'm gonna move the Avengers down here a little bit. and I'm gonna put Age of Ultron above Cellular. Yeah. I don't know how Endgame ended up as the very last movie that we're ranking right now, but it's really kicking my ass. You know what? A movie that doesn't give Natasha a funeral is not getting ranked higher than Infinity War. That doesn't even have anything to do with Chris's acting. He was so amazing in Endgame. But you know what? It's the principle of the thing. If they can't spare 5 seconds to send flowers with her name on them down that river, it's not ranking as high as Infinity War on this list. Sorry. Obviously, I felt so excited and overjoyed during the movie. Like, you cannot compare with the feeling of seeing all of the Avengers and every superhero ever just like coming out of those portals. Like, I feel like that is literally a once in a lifetime feeling. But I think leaving the theater, I just felt a little bit disappointed, and maybe that's just because it was on such a pedestal of expectation. But I felt a little bit upset at how they handled some of the female characters. Whereas coming out of the theater for Knives Out, I felt so excited, and maybe that's just because I watched it yesterday and I'm just still in that excited mode. But I feel like that initial leaving the theater mood was heightened and more excited coming out of Knives Out than it was coming out of Endgame. And so that's why I'm putting it above the first Avenger, but below Knives Out. I think that's where it's gonna go. So I think we actually have a final ranking. Okay, so it's looking like the top 5 movies were Gifted, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Knives Out, and Endgame, in that order. I feel like the next bit, like the big middle section of his movies, you could probably, switch a few of them around. But as it stands right now, we have the first Avenger, we've got Civil War, Snowpiercer, Before We Go, Age of Ultron, Cellular, the very first Avengers movie, Playing It Cool, Puncture, Losers, Red Sea Diving Resort, Nanny Diaries, What's Your Number, Street Kings, Sunshine, Push, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Perfect Score, Fantastic Four, the first one, The Iceman, Fierce People, London, Not Another Teen Movie, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Newcomers, and then coming in bottom of the list, The Loss of a Teardrop Diamond. I'm so sorry for that movie. I feel so bad for the ones that I put near the side of the list. Like, they're not genuinely bad movies, but they just didn't vibe with me, as well as the ones at the top of the list. But yeah, basically, that's my ranking of all of Chris Evans' movies. I had a really great time watching all these movies. I actually had a really great time ranking all of them as well. And yeah, I hope you like this video. Feel free to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. But yeah, see you. Every time they used a syringe. Syringe? Every time they used a syringe. Why syringe? I cannot pronounce that.